Hi everyone, I'm Scarlett, and today we will be talking about how to produce a richer and darker sound on the saxophone. Tone color, which is the timbre, is the result of an acoustic phenomenon known as overtones. So the bright and dark sound is basically the amount of harmonic partials in the sound. Every musical note you hear is not the pure frequency, but it's actually the blend of the pitches of a particular harmonic series. And the relative strength of a harmonics is what gives the note its timbre. And before we identify what is bright and dark sound on the saxophone, we must first hear what is dark and bright sound in the voice. If you compare the male opera singer and the female opera singer, the male opera singer has a bass, a low voice, and the soprano singer has a higher voice. And why is that? So to make it simple, pitch is determined by the frequency, which is the number of vibrations per second, where frequency is determined by the length and thickness of a vibrating object. So think of the voice. The larger the larynx, the bigger is the vocal folds. Hence, it is longer and thicker, so it produces a lower voice. If it's a female singer, it has a shorter and thinner vocal folds, which is a smaller larynx, so it can produce a higher pitch. So the size of the vocal folds depends on the size of the larynx. So if you see a string players, they go all the way down to the fingerboard and it produces a higher pitch because in that way the length of the string is shorter. Hence the vibration per second is higher, hence it produces a higher pitch. So before we begin to produce a darker or brighter sound on the saxophone, we must first identify the dark or bright sound in our voice. So we will practice this exercise just to feel the larynx and gain a full control of our larynx. I will be singing a lower pitch at first, and then I will keep the same pitch, and then I will go back and forth dark and bright sound. So place your fingers on the larynx and then try feel the movement. When you sing darker sound, the larynx is at the bottom, and when you sing a brighter sound, the larynx moves up. And now I will sing an octave higher. So in this way, you can identify that even though I'm singing a same pitch, I can go back and forth, dark and bright sound. And a lower pitch has a difference between bright and dark, and a higher pitch has a dark and bright as well. For the next exercise, you can just imagine the sound, and by placing your 3 fingers at your larynx, you can identify that whether you have a full control over your larynx. For the last exercise, I will be singing the same pitch, but now pay attention to my voice, see if you can hear the overtones. By understanding that the color change has to do with the overtones in your sound, I strongly suggest you to sing it until you can hear the overtones in your voice. So to conclude, all this idea is very simple. If you want to produce a darker sound, the lower partials of the fundamental has to stand out. If the higher partials of a fundamental stands out more, you will get a brighter sound. Even though you are singing a same pitch, you can still go back and forth the dark and bright sound. It depends on which partials you want to stand out more. So I would strongly suggest you to listen to recording as much as you can and find who has a darker sound and who has a brighter sound, and try your best to listen to it and imitate it. By singing it and hearing it is the best way to help you to improve the tone color as well. Of course, the embouchure, the reed, the mouthpiece is also an element to change the color. But the most important part of changing the color depends on what you hear. To produce a rich tone means that the core of your sound is full. So by doing this, you must have a full air support and constant airstream. So this is an app I use to practice long tone. So when you are absolutely in tune, the smiley face gets bigger. This app helps me to visualize my tone as well, because when the core is full, it expands and gets bigger. I would just imagine that I'm constantly hitting the center of my sound and slowly expanding it. So by practicing with the tuner will help you to improve your intonation and your tone. Because when you are playing loud, the notes tends to go flat. So by visualizing to the tuner, the smiley face will actually help you and encourage you to play in tune. But most importantly is you hear it.